Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for part 2 of the DC comic reviews, to which this time I'll be covering Batman issue 125 and Dark Crisis issue 2. So I'll get things set up so I can get Batman 125 reviewed, and then after that I'll be covering Dark Crisis issue 2. So as we can see here, these are the variant covers that I have gotten for this issue, and I'll let you know which cover is which. So the one on the left hand side is cover 1, the one on the right hand side that you see here just in the bottom is cover 2. Moving to the one above that, which will be cover 3, and last but not least, the one on the right hand side is cover 4. So first things first, do these covers in any way, shape or form connect to something that's happening in relation to the story? Sure enough they do, because we do have the return of Tim Drake, and it's really nice to see his character in this. Let's see how things go in relation story wise when we get to that later. So now it's time for the cover ratings. So for the first cover, so cover 1, it gets a 7.5 out of 10, as I really like it, and Jorge Jimenez has done an incredible job with this cover. We need more Super Sons with Jorge Jimenez. For cover 2, alright, cover 1 got a 7.5 out of 10, cover 2 gets a 7 out of 10. I don't really like how the artist has somewhat drawn Tim Drake here. His face looks very off in its appearance. As for the rest in regards to the costume and that, I think it looks great. So moving to cover 3, to which actually got one of my high cover rating for Chip Zdarsky, to which I gave an 8 out of 10. It's probably one of my favorite covers. And last but not least, the black and white with a little bit of a splash of blood, I gave a 7.5 out of 10. Now I'll start to set things up so I can review cover the internal. I will not be covering the backstory in this. So using one of the variant covers, this is some of the art around the beginning of the story, and as you can see here, we have Bruce Wayne somewhat waking up out of a dream sequence, and as we can see here in this dream, he also sees the death of Damian, a number of the Robins, plus the 3 Jokers. And last but not least, we move into the beginning, and he talks to Selina. I'll now jump towards the middle, and as we start to jump towards the middle of the story, something ends up happening to Tim Drake, and Batman has to, well, make some compromises along the way and do some changes. And last but not least, we end up returning to the Batcave after the events of what happened with the Penguin. And, of course, failsafe is initiated at his old Batcave. Not this present one, but it actually seems to be an older one, as you can tell by some of the details. So for the internal art, I actually quite liked and enjoyed, to which I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to jump to the story rating. Now, first things first, did we get any comic book references? Because this run of Batman has been going for quite a while, and is there anything that Chip might have actually wanted to use in relation to previous issues. No, he didn't, but that will take its place in what will lead up to the score later on. Moving into the next area, being time, we had another time which actually was connected to a dream that Bruce Wayne was having, and last but not least, now, which was towards the end of the story. Moving into the area of locations, we had Gotham, of course, we had the Batcave, and of course the Fitzgibbon Gala, or however it's called, but one of the galas, to which many of the rich and the elite end up going and having a bit of a ball of sorts. In the story, the cast of characters consisting of Batman, Bruce Wayne, we had Catwoman, Selena Kyle, we had Tim Drake, Red Robin. No, I'm not going to call him Robin, but I will call him Red Robin, because that was actually a pretty good run. We also had Clayface and the Penguin of their roles in the story. And last but not least, we had the character of Failsafe. So for the overall story rating, I gave a 6.5 out of 10. No, it's not very high at all. Even though I understand that there are those people who do enjoy Chip Zdarsky, I think he's okay on like a number of maybe some Marvel projects, as well as a number of indie projects, to which I do enjoy his work. But getting used to him in regards to DC, that might take a little bit longer. So now it's time to move into Dark Crisis issue 2. So here we are, finally into Dark Crisis issue 2, and yes, it's being done in a joint comic review with Batman. So first things first, let's jump to cover rating. Does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that's happening inside the story? Sure enough it does, to which I give it a 7 out of 10. I'll now move to showing some of the internal art around the beginning, middle and end, as well as getting some of the things that happen in relation to the story. So as things begin, we are starting to see the Titan's Tower be attacked by Deathstroke and the Secret Society of Supervillains. And of course a number of characters there. Personally, I would have had no problem if Deathstroke had killed off some of the Atom Glass creations. Just saying. And of course, some of the villains. I'll now jump towards the middle. As we start to jump towards the middle, we actually get to see Superboy actually acting like Superman. And it's really nice to see this, where it seems that Joshua Williamson can write a way better John Samuel Kent Superboy, along with Philip Kennedy Johnson, than actual one-trick pony Tom Taylor, to which I am no longer reviewing his Nightwing on the channel. Now, jumping into a little of the art towards the end here, I must admit, one thing I really do like with this is that the fact that Hank Henshaw, Cyborg Superman, really gives this John Kent a bit of an ass whooping of sorts. And I really appreciate that in the story, because this character needs an ass whooping. And last but not least, towards the very end, to which we have Black Adam turn up. And yes, he still gives a bit of a handful to this John Kent. But we also get a bit of something that's linking to the upcoming next issue, to which the Green Lanterns return. So for the internal art in this story, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to jump to the story rating. First things first, did we get any references to any previous comics that are somewhat connected to this run? No, we didn't, not at all. This series needs them, and this series actually needs it, so you can tie up loose ends, and it will work well with the continuity. You know, as to how well your continuity was written well in Infinite Frontier. Yeah, I paid attention to that when I was reading all 5 of those issues. And it was really well executed too. If you can do it there, you should be able to do it with Dark Crisis. So, moving into the next thing. Time. Oh, that was another thing too, which was really good in Infinite Frontier, because we actually had time very well written in Infinite Frontier, but it's not being shown here in Infinite Crisis, where it also needs to be shown. Moving into the location, we had Earth Zero, which is the prime Earth in this DC Comics run. And the place being the Titans Tower. We just don't know which Titans Tower, because there's quite a number of them in the DC universe. But the cast of characters consisting of Pariah, who we see at the beginning of the book. We had Nightwing, Deathstroke, Superboy. I will not call him Superman, but I will call him Superboy. We had Cyborg Superman, Cyborg, Black Adam, Kyle Rayner, and last but not least, Hal Jordan. Now, I understand that there are some people who have some criticism in regards to some of the certain things as to why Pariah maybe had Deathstroke pull out. If I were to guess why Pariah had Deathstroke pull out, is that if you look at some of the things that have been presently happening in certain runs, say for example the Flash run, right? We have the heroes going to sort of like certain eras or times, or even certain worlds connected to certain characters, right? That gives us one hint, and that's just in the Flash run. The next one is, of course, leading back to Infinite Frontier as to where Barry Allen Flash is. The next is also what's happening in the Dark Crisis Young Justice run. So if I want to guess why Pariah has pulled out, is that he wants to try to set up members that are connected to the Titans to fall into a very similar trap. Alright, and this is where it's getting somewhat predictable already, as to watching and observing like what is happening in other stories connected to Dark Crisis. Like, it would make sense that, alright, you want Deathstroke to pull out. That's fine. But you also want to use these characters to somewhat fuel or fall into a nightmare of sorts. In other words, what we're seeing in relation to the dreams aren't actual dreams. If I were to say one thing, I would probably say that they're nightmares. And I'll have more to say when I start to talk about the review for the upcoming Superman one. So until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.